And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Welcome to Centerville. This is from GMT Games, who are mostly known for the historical and war games, but they do make other games, and this is from Chad Jensen, who has made war game designs, and in fact this is his second city building game. But this one, I mean, just the cover alone, it doesn't look like a GMT game at all. If you put all the GMT games next to each other, this would be easy to pull out. It'd say, hey, look how friendly it is. In this game you are kind of running for office or here, and you're influencing the votes. You're just trying to be the #1 person in this city. Let's see how it plays. So here's the board of the game. It's actually kind of a small board, but what you're going to be doing in this game is you're trying to get the most points. You have two things. You have your fame marker and you have a money marker. And both of these are going to be moving around the board. Different actions are going to let you move both of them. At the end of the game, though, the one that's farther behind, your lower of the two scores, is your final score. So if you can have a lot of money and not much fame, so you have to keep an eye on that as you're moving these around. The game is going to revolve around these dice, and each turn of the game you're going to roll these dice, and you can pick some dice and re-roll them, and then pick some other dice and re-roll them. You can do that twice, like Yahtzee. The only restrictions are if you ever roll an hourglass, which is on the black or the green dice, then you cannot re-roll those dice anymore. These hourglasses, for each one you roll, is going to move this token down here, which when it hits the bottom is going to cause scoring, and it's going to be the end of the first era. There's 3 of those, and after the third scoring there's final scoring. So that's kind of a way to make the game go down. Also, when you roll these, for each one that you roll, you can either move up 1 here on the turn order track, or you can take 1 point with either of your 2 scoring markers. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to get different combinations here on these dice to do different things on the board. You have a city board here, and one of the things you might want to do is to place things on this in the city. To do that, you need to roll contracts. There are different contracts. This is a contract for the purple area. I have one of those, so I could place one of my color cubes in the 1 area. If I have 2 contracts, maybe I use this question mark and turn it into a purple contract. It doesn't matter. You can even use a contract of another color, like this yellow, and this would allow me to put a 2 in purple or a 2 in yellow. So contracts allow you to put things in. If you roll 4 trees, you can take the most lucrative one. There's 1 in each area on the spots. Contracts can also be used. If you get 4 contracts, you can take a master token, master of real estate, master of industry, master of commerce, and master of politics. These are great because for the remainder of the game, for that particular die, whichever one you're the master of, you don't need to roll it anymore. You can place it on the side that you want. Trees aren't used just for these outside areas. Trees can also, with 3 of these trees, you can put a cube here on the river, which will score you points both during the game and at the end of the game. And you can also spend trees to move yourself on this basically the ecological track at the top of the board. Educational symbols can be used to take these tokens here. There are many different tokens that are in the bag. These are vocation tokens. You're going to want to get these. You're going to put them over your player board. These are scored only at the end of the game, and you're going to score for the number of different ones you have and the number of the same ones you have. There's going to be 6 randomly pulled from the bag. They're always placed in order from highest to lowest. There's only 1 1, there's 2 2s, all the way up to 9 9s. And you can, for 1, you can take this one. For 2, you can take one of these. For 3, you can take one of the lower ones. For 4, you can take the media token, which gives you a 4th reroll rather than just the 3 that you have. There are benches. You get 3 benches. You can put a token here in the park, which kind of counts as if you have a #1 token in all the areas. And also benches can be used to move you up on the turn order track based on how many cubes you have in the park. And then finally, there are voting tokens. Whenever you vote, you need at least 2 votes. So let's say this, I can vote in the blue or the yellow. You'll put that many cubes. And then if someone else is already there, you would need to go higher than them. And when you go to these spots, you'll get some sort of special ability. The green one gives you an extra turn, except you can't use the green die again. The black one lets you shoot to the top of the track. So the blue one here lets you move out farther from make your one of your spots here onto a higher level. There's just different areas that you can go to out here. And so if maybe later on the white player will be able to get 3 of those votes and they can oust you here. Now, when certain things happen, when a scoring token hits this disaster or hits this one, or the ecological track you hit this one, or the first time you hit the scoring round, these disaster tokens will be thrown into the bag of tiles that you're pulling to replace these. And if you ever pull one, that disaster will affect everybody except for the person who might have gotten this tile here, which keeps you safe from disasters. At the end of a scoring round, players are going to score based on different things. If you have a cube above or below the river, this bridge on the river, you're going to score money or fame based on where you are on this track up here. You're then going to move this cube into one of these buildings here, which is going to be worth 1, 2, or 4 points at the end of the game. You're going to get money or fame if you have the most spots, 6 for first place and 3 for second place, in each of the 4 quadrants. Remembering anything in the park counts for all of them. And if you have the least, you're going to lose money or fame in those spots. And then, depending on how many different offices you control, you're going to get points. There's a little chart here in the book that if you control all 6, you'll get 25 points. And if you control no offices, you will lose 3. And this is both money and fame. And then depending on where you are on the status track, you're going to get points whether you're 1 star or 2 stars. And you can only spend 4 contracts to flip yourself over to get 2 stars. By the way, 4 contracts let you do that. I said earlier 4 contracts gives you a master. It's 4 votes gives you one of these master tokens. Now, you're going to be changing turn order here a lot. And that matters because going first could be pretty useful in this game. And also can score you points. Every time you're bumped down from first to second place, you get a favor token. Favor tokens can be spent to replace people's cubes here, to go onto the bridge area here on the board, to take over someone's area with the same amount of cubes. They're basically used with an action. It shows you on your sheet here exactly what they do. And as I said, then at the very end of the game, whoever has the higher of their 2 low things is the winner. That's pretty much it. Realize I'm not talking about every rule in the game. In fact, I misspoke earlier. I said that there's first, second place. It's first place gets 6 points, last place loses 3 points. So there's different values that you can get. And again, each player has this sheet here which helps them realize what everything does and how many you get of the different things and final scoring, etc. There's also rules for a 2-player game. In this case, you have a bot, and the bot will act different ways because you should have at least 3 players playing the game. Now, this is a GMT game. They're not always known for their excellent component qualities. The cubes are okay. I mean, they're cubes. The tiles themselves are fine. I do like that they're different. And, they tried to put as much theme into this game picture-wise as they possibly could. I wish the board was a little bigger. It's kind of small and condensed, but it's fine. The dice are okay. They look great. They're fun to roll, but I do worry about these sides, and since they're not imprinted into the die, that they will wear off after a certain amount of time. But they are also very easy to tell apart, although I'm not quite so sure they're easy to tell apart if you're colorblind. But there are different symbols on them, and the rule book itself has kind of like a chart to show you what's on each side of the die. Each player also has these legacy tokens. I should mention these. You get one of these at the beginning of the game, and it gives you an extra scoring benefit, like whoever's highest on the track will get 6 points, lowest will lose 3 points, so one more end game scoring condition. The game just feels a little smaller, I think, than I would prefer it. All the pieces are a little tinier, maybe, but for the most part, it's good quality. Now, his first city building game, I was not a big fan of. I felt that it was not very thematic and that it was just, I don't know, it just felt too stringent. I didn't like the catch-up mechanism. Here's the deal. I like this game, okay? So I'm just going to get out of the way and say that now. But I don't think this game is uber thematic. It's okay. But you're still doing a lot of mechanical things. Like when you collect the different things, education, you're taking the different tiles and putting them there, and you get points for different ones and points for the same. And when you control different regions of the city, and your money goes up or your fame goes up depending on what's in the city, or you move it across the river, then move it to a building and get points, and the votes give you. I can see the theme, but it's like at a distance. Now, this doesn't actually bother me that much. I thought it would bother me more, but I really like it because I like city building games, especially because of their theme. But this almost, I guess I would put this in my city building category. I would, but it's almost just a dice manipulation game as you roll these dice in Yahtzee style, but it's Yahtzee with so many different options. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to take one of those master tokens early on? Because if you do, you can set your die any way you want. But you're essentially giving up 4 dice to get that. It's like an early die roll, giving up offices that you could have gotten instead, which give you all these cool bonuses. Going on the river is a neat idea, but if you're going to go on the river, then you want to get that ecological track at the top moved higher. And if you're doing those things, you're pretty much ignoring the city. And that's the thing about this game that's interesting. You can't do it all. You can't control the city, you can't control the river, you can't control the political offices, you can't collect the vocations for the end of the game. You can't do all those. Oh, I mean, you can do all of them, but you can't do all of them well. And that's what makes this game interesting. So there's kind of that back and forth. There's a whole page here in the rule books, I want to say it's the last page, of play tips. If you're playing this game, I highly recommend you read these because they give you a lot of good ideas. And there's a lot of things, you know, when I'm playing this, like that little token of your own, what's going to, the legacy tile it's called, where you're going to score points in any game. There's like bonus scoring. That's not a ton of scoring on those, although getting 6 in both your scoring tokens is good and losing is -3. But I've seen games swung on those, and if you don't know what else to do your legacy tile. You know, make sure you're winning in that if you possibly can. After that, it might depend on what you roll. You might roll and go, well, I wasn't planning to take an office this turn, but I just rolled 4 check marks. The timing mechanism works really well for this game. This game does not overstay its welcome. Like I said, there's a lot of numbers, but I was really happy with these sheets. Now, these sheets are very mechanical looking, almost spreadsheet in a sense, but they're really handy. I can look here and say, okay, what am I going to do this time? And I'm a big fan of the 2 scoring tokens, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm getting lots of money. Oh, but no fame. I better like reverse and now start getting the fame up, and maybe that means I'm going to control this part of the city. Maybe I need to go into this section of the river. And then the favor tokens, I like how they work too. The favor tokens, as they move up or down, based on is going to possibly score you extra. The favor tokens you get because of moving down, you're going to be able to use those to kind of enhance your actions. The game has a little bit of meanness in it, not too much. You occasionally push someone out of an area, or you occasionally kick someone out of office, taking that office for yourself. There's not a lot of that going on. And there's also those disaster tokens, which I'm not always a fan of, like, oh, here we go, everyone got hit by a fire. But they're not that bad. First of all, there's only 4 of them. I don't think you'll ever see all 4 in a game. I guess you could, but you probably won't. And it's possible to go a whole game without having any of them. They might make you get rid of a cube in a city, or lose an office, or lose a location tower, or whatever. They're not too painful, but they exist, and the person who takes the tile that makes you immune to them is like, woohoo! Because sometimes who controls a city district can shift based on one of those, and not having to be affected by it can be a big deal. In short, lots of fun here. This is a game that I just like to roll the dice, pick what I'm going to use, maybe re-roll a couple things, which means there's luck, but then let's say you couldn't re-roll the dice. I still don't know that I would hate the game, because I could look at it and be like, wow, okay, I rolled this, how am I going to use these? But because you can re-roll it, you can kind of manipulate them and get the dice to be where you want. And of course, you can always take one of those master tokens and just set one die where you like. Great little game. I had a lot of fun. Like I said, if I was going to maybe get this to people to play this, I don't know that I would say, hey, we're going to play this great game about building cities. I'd be like, hey, we're going to play this really fun dice game. I think that's where I would start, but it doesn't matter. The theme does work, even if it's light, and it's a solid little game. A little might be, well, it's a little in size, but there's more to it than that. Definitely check it out. That's Welcome to Centerville. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the doors!